Much of the popular rhetoric surrounding money, taxes, and the economy is built on intuitive logic, but is broken by the real world. We are taught to look at the economy through the lens of good intentions, what we want to happen, while ignoring the mechanical rules that actually dictate the results. Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics isn't just a collection of theories. It acts as a framework for identifying those hidden rules, so you can see past political slogans. To see how these rules work in practice, we have to look at a $257 million policy error that illustrates the danger of prioritizing intentions over evidence. In 2008, Maryland officials identified 8,000 millionaires living in the state. They calculated that by raising the tax rate on this specific group, they could generate an additional $106 million for the state budget. But within a year, the state's millionaire population dropped by 2,000. These individuals moved their families and businesses to lower tax states, and Maryland ended up with a $257 million deficit instead of a surplus. This happened because of incentives, the rewards or penalties that steer human behavior. If you make it more expensive for people to be successful in one location, they will find a way to be successful somewhere else. Individuals face these same trade-offs. If you have $50,000, you might choose a luxury car for the immediate status, or you could buy a $20,000 economy car and invest the rest. This chart shows the math. The luxury car loses value, while the $30,000 investment grows, reaching $250,000 over 3 decades. This is opportunity cost. Every spent dollar destroys what it could have become if invested. Every morning, millions of people in a city like New York or London find fresh food exactly where they need it. No government official directs the trucks or decides how many loaves of bread to bake. Instead, the system relies on prices, which act as a communication network. High prices signal that a resource is scarce, encouraging businesses to produce more, while low prices signal a surplus, telling them to slow down. When we try to bypass this network, the results are predictable. If a school offers unlimited free pizza, the first people in line often take more than they need, creating an immediate shortage for everyone else. We saw this with rent control in New York. By capping what landlords could charge, it became impossible to profit from maintenance. Owners stopped fixing roofs and pipes, and thousands of buildings were eventually abandoned. In India, the government did the opposite by setting wheat prices artificially high. Farmers responded to the incentive by growing more than people could eat, leaving millions of tons of grain to rot in warehouses. Prices are not arbitrary numbers. They are the market's primary tool for relaying the truth about supply and demand. Altering them through law usually creates the very problems the law was meant to solve. In business, a financial loss is a vital signal. If you try to trade raisins at school and nobody wants them, that loss tells you are wasting your time and resources on something people don't value. Bankruptcy works as a cleanup mechanism for the economy. When a failing company shuts down, it releases engineers, materials, and equipment so they can be used by businesses that are actually producing what society needs. The same principle applies to your income. There is a common assumption that extreme physical effort, like working in the sun for 12 hours, should automatically lead to a high wage. However, wages are determined by the value created. If a worker's skills only bring in $10 of value per hour, a law forcing a $15 minimum wage means the business loses $5 every hour. Since the business cannot sustain that loss, they will often choose not to hire that person, opting instead for automation to perform the task. Economic trade is cooperative. A lawyer earning $300 an hour doesn't save money by cleaning their office. They hire a cleaner for $20, so both can focus on their most productive tasks. Your paycheck is the market price for the results you produce. When you understand that trade is about mutual benefit rather than conflict, you can focus on building the skills the market actually rewards. Everything in economics ultimately points to a single reality, the necessity of trade-offs. If you spend your time trying to mitigate your weaknesses, you are paying an opportunity cost by not developing your strengths. By internalizing how value and incentives work, you gain a filter for the slogans and outrage often found on social media. You can evaluate claims based on their likely results, rather than just their intentions. Success in the real world comes from understanding these rules and focusing on creating the kind of rare value that the market is already incentivized to reward. If you want to dive deeper into the mechanics of how the world actually works, subscribe to the channel and explore the playlist on your screen.